Okay, so we're going to go live. Sorry, I still don't know how to set this up properly. But I have some really cool stuff to show you guys today. And we will see if we can see it. So, there's no one here. I don't really expect anyone to show up to these live streams, but if anyone does show up, that's pretty cool. I have some really cool stuff to show you guys today. I should put something over this one, I think. Let's see if that's true. Nah, it's just going to be how it is. Okay, so I have really cool things to show you guys today. I'm going to drink some soda to stay awake, and I have this platform here to show off some stuff. Okay. If anyone caught my first live stream, I just opened up a random box. I didn't even know what was inside, just games and everything like that. This time, I actually know what I'm going to show, which is pretty interesting. So, first up, I have a problem with the Game Boy Micro. So, with the Game Boy Micro, you have this screen that can be taken off. And when it was shipped, I believe it was shipped with 3 screens. And there was different setups, you know, like one's obviously marketed more feminine with the pink, and sometimes they have the blues and the blacks and camouflage and stuff like that. So eventually they would get scratched. And at the time, at least, you could go out and buy all different sets, and they were very overpriced. But the problem was, in the years since then, it's almost impossible to find a replacement. So I found this little company, just when I was going to actually make my own and market my own replacement screens, I found this this company that makes these. It says it's Repair Box. It's by Hyperkin, I guess. So here you go. And when you open it up, this one's still sealed on the back. I bought like 5 or 6 of these just so I could keep them in good shape. This one I never opened. I'm not sure which one it is. But it's just a standard black screen to put over top of my Game Boy Micro. Now, I think you could still buy these. I really hope so anyway. But you want to keep that screen as clean as possible. There is like a little protective layer. It's not my camera being all dirty and everything to show you guys that. So that's just a thing that I strongly recommend getting if you happen to like the Game Boy Micro. The Game Boy Micro, I think, is my favorite way of playing the Game Boy Advance, but it might not be for everybody. Certain games don't seem to work really well. Ones that might cramp up your hands with a lot of button presses. Shooters, for example, bullet hell shooters, the screen's so small you're not going to see anything. No, it's meant for like Advanced Wars and lots of RPGs. So if you're into Final Fantasy, the 1 and 2 that came out for it, or stuff like that, the RPGs are terrific, and I strongly recommend giving them a shot. So also pick one of these up by Hyperkin. If they still make them, I've got this years ago when it first released, but I don't think it did. Okay, let's get into the crazy stuff now. One of my favorite things for my vacation, I'm going to make a short on this. Does anyone out there know what this is? It's by Tomy. It is, let's power it on, Alien Chase. Now you'll see here, the screen itself is magnified. It makes a horrible clicking noise, and you can move around your ship. That mothership that's in the middle, I'm not sure if you can even see it because it's all flashing and whatnot. That's the thing you want to avoid. And there's things that look like bombs, and they're essentially what you have to collect. Okay, so you have to collect those things that look like bombs with your ship and bring them back to your base. And then you would score points that would be lined up at your base. I believe it's like the first person to 6 points wins. This is not LCD. This is like VFL or something like that, because they're little, almost like light bulbs that are going off in there. It's really quite amazing. Let's see if we can even start a game. Let's look at the amateur. Okay, so you would, okay, so you look like the bomb, and you're trying to collect it into your own little ship. And it's really kind of hard to tell what's going on here, because I can't really see my screen so well. I just scored a point. So that's what you would do. And if you're wondering how I could tell how this game is being played, because I couldn't be looking at the screen down here to play, it's quite simple. This beautiful machine is 2-player. So I'll turn it off and on here real quick. It's a 2-player machine. So how does the second player work? Well, look at that. It has the full screen on either side. And this piece of plastic here is magnifying it, and the actual thing is in the middle. It's quite deep too when you look at it. So it gives a really cool illusion that you're playing something sort of larger in life. It's relatively quiet. There's some clicking noises, almost like it was something that was trying hard to explain it. It's almost like there's mechanical operations going on here, like a hamster's running around and picking up gears and everything. But it's made by Tomy. Alien Chase, really hard to come by. I haven't seen many of these on eBay over the years, but the ones I have are generally in really bad condition. Tomy, I believe, it makes the best games like this. I know a lot of people really enjoy the Coleco ones with Donkey Kong, and I'm not saying Donkey Kong's bad, it's freaking awesome, the Coleco one. But as far as the mini arcades go, Tomy is definitely the one you want to be. Now you can power it by an AC adapter, and it has a massive battery pack on the bottom. Just massive. I don't even know if we can open this. Oh my goodness. 4 C batteries go in this bad boy, and they last quite some time, so you really don't need to worry about the batteries going dead. And also you don't need to worry about the batteries going dead, because you're only going to really play this with a friend. And how long do you think you can play this with one of your buddies just sort of hanging out in your house? So again, this is Alien Chase, made by Tomy. It's a beautiful handheld system. It's one of my favorites. I love this one so much. It came out in 1982. I'm going to do a YouTube short on it, so you could expect to see that in the future. I might even film it today, and I think it's awesome. So we got that. Now the other thing, sticking with the category of handhelds that aren't really handhelds. Does anyone know what this is? If you don't know what it is, well, you know what? There's a good reason for that. They didn't make very many of these. You could only get them at Blockbuster. Each Blockbuster got one of these per store. I happen to have one. Now, the one I had was in fairly good shape, except the sticker that was on top was broken. It was ripped, it was torn, it was shredded. And that's because this was a rental unit that you could rent out back in 1995. So if you haven't figured it out by now, this is the Virtual Boy carrying case. So every store got one of these. They were liquidated for next to nothing when the Blockbuster stopped carrying Virtual Boys. And I actually just got a sticker and I slapped it on there to replace where the big sticker would have been. So what's in the box? Well, I have all my Virtual Boy games in this box. I don't have the cardboard boxes for them. They were packed away. I don't really need them to see, but I will show you the Virtual Boy itself, some of the cool things about it, what I really enjoy with the Virtual Boy, and let's get into some of the games. I do want to do a top 10 on the games, but I don't think it would be that interesting because I'd have to use emulator to record them. And I don't really think anyone would really care that much about the Virtual Boy, even though there was some bangers here. So let's pop this baby open and see what's inside. Opening it up here, I'm just going to pull some of the games out so you guys can see what it would look like. The games I just sort of shove in here really hard. And look at that. So it has the instructions here, it has the Virtual Boy, a spot for the controller, a spot for the AC adapter. This little pocket here is where I shove games, the stand, and the unit itself. So let's take a look at it and see how this bad boy works. So of course, you need the stand. The stands are pretty cool. This one was actually a third-party one. It's almost exactly like the real thing. It's made a little less flimsy. This plastic wears out over time and it starts to break. So this one's fine now. Okay. The unit itself. These, I hope you could find some online still. Because a lot of them break and they didn't get used that hard, so you should be able to find them relatively easy. And I only get this out on my birthday like once a year. I just wanted to show it off today, so to speak. So that will clip on right here. Go in and, oh my goodness. I forgot. The legs are sort of dumb on this. Oh my god, it's been so long. Okay, finally got it. Okay, so the knees actually bend backwards. So it's kind of interesting. Okay, so we got it. Now, you'd put your head in here, and you just sort of enter another world altogether, where time has almost no meaning. And you might think you've been in here for a half hour, but really it's only been 5 minutes. And that's just one of the ridiculous things about the Virtual Boy itself. Now, as for the AC adapter, now you can get a device that, a battery pack, that uses like 6 AA batteries for your controller, but a Super Nintendo plug is all you need in order to power this bad boy on. So that battery pack would be right here on the back of the controller itself. This is for the AC adapter. So we would open this up, we would plug the AC adapter in, close it, and attach on the battery. That means the power supply and the input buttons from the controller are passing all through this one cord, which plugs in to the bottom next to a networking cable, which never came out, but some people have started making them third party, and some modified games third party, so you could do multiplayer with some friends. So that just brings us to the games and the controller itself. And that's why I think the Virtual Boy was terrific, is it had a great controller. Now a lot of people, they remember the Nintendo 64 controller, and it looks like an awkward trident. It's kind of almost garbagey. But the Virtual Boy controller was amazing. It had 2 D-pads. So it would be perfect for twin stick shooters. And these are old school Nintendo D-pads. They don't feel as great as the Super Nintendo, but they definitely feel good. Select and start, A and B, keeping it really simple like Nintendo likes to do. Plus, you have a nice hand grip with triggers on the back. So that's it, and it is a great feeling controller. If these D-pads would have been analog sticks, and maybe it would have had 4 buttons here where there's only the A and B. That could have been Nintendo 64 controller, and everyone would have been happy, and everyone would have thought it was a much better controller for the system. The Virtual Boy sort of did it right where the Nintendo 64 failed us, but not many people realize that because no one gets their hands on these controllers. Okay, so then we go into the games. These are the ones I have. Telro Boxer, which is a boxing game. Pretty fun stuff, good times. Nestor's Funky Bowling. Nestor was the character from Nintendo Power, and it's just bowling. It's freaking great. Well, not freaking great. It's an average game. I mean, it doesn't have the motion controls that like the Wii had with bowling. So you're just looking at a black and red bowling experience. Vertical Force. This is an up and down shoot 'em up. You could move into the background, the foreground. This could have been on any console. They could easily make this on the Switch today. Just no one wants to remake it. It probably wouldn't be doing much anyway. Hey, Jamie. Yeah, I was hoping you would come over, the guy in the chat there, and hang out and do this live stream with me, and then maybe some other time then. Jack Brothers. Whoa! Jack Brothers on the Virtual Boy. One of the most expensive American Jack Brothers game. And pretty fascinating. And this is where you actually start to see something messed up with the Virtual Boy games. The fact that if you look at the red background, it has the same red background for everything. But Jack Brothers decided to go with its own picture almost all the way up to the top, where it defaults back to the same red background to the Virtual Boy games themselves. This is ridiculous, and I don't know why they even did this. This is also made by Atlas. It's amazing. And with that, we go to Ismouse. Oh, I know. This is a Japanese game. It's a first-person shooter. This is a reproduction card because I wanted to play it in English. It would be all in Japanese, and trying to figure out the storyline is just something you could not do. I played it through emulation, and I really liked it, and I just wish that I could have played it in English, and now I finally can. I got this last year for Christmas, and I haven't even put it in my machine yet, because this year my birthday was too busy for me to break it out and play, so I never did. So when I get off here, I'll probably give it a try. Bound High. This is another game that was finished by Nintendo but never actually came out. People found the ROMs, they actually made a full instruction booklet and color manual and all of that for it, and these are really kind of hard to come by, especially in the box complete, which I do have my copy. There's a website called UncleTusk.com, and they would sell reproduction boxes and whatnot, and for a very brief period of time, they actually sold this card. And then once they were sold, they were gone. And if you missed it and found out 1 week later, well, you missed it. It's gone. So, that's what it is. Water Worlds. This game also came out on the Super Nintendo. I have it for the Super Nintendo. I don't think I ever played it for the Super Nintendo. I have played it for the Virtual Boy, and it is total garbage. Total garbage, and it also sells for well over $100 because the angry video game nerd said that it was total garbage, so people ran out and had to buy it. Why? Panic Bomber. I think it's a puzzle game. I don't remember that much about it. I obviously never played it for more than a few minutes. Red Alarm is something that's fairly interesting with the system, and that is the fact that it's a three-dimensional shooter, very much like Star Fox, but you can move in the different directions instead of just a straight down the path game. Now, it does have a secret in it, supposedly, where you could find a girl in a bikini taking a shower or something like that if you look through one of the windows in the first or second level. I followed the tutorial to find this multiple times, and I don't know if it's because the controls are messed up or if the game itself is, but no, you just can't find it. It's just not there. So I want to be the first person maybe on the internet to find it and actually post video online. Playing it through emulation makes it even harder to get to it, but even trying to go in through here and trying to do it, I could not. So I don't think it's really there. I think it's just one of those urban legends. So maybe someone out there can prove me wrong, but so far no one has. Golf. This is essentially the Game Boy version of golf, slightly remade. The maps, I believe, are all the same. So it's all of the same holes of golf from the Game Boy, but put on this, and it's golf, only now it's red and black. Baseball is very much like the same way. So it's basically the Game Boy version of baseball. It's been upgraded slightly at spots and re-put out there. I don't believe it has any of the real teams. Mario Clash is almost great. It's very much like the original Super Mario Brothers or the original Mario Brothers from the arcade, where it's a single screen action platformer game where you have to kill all of the creatures on the screen in order to pass to the next level. There's 100 levels here. Right around level 40 it starts getting ice and it gets ridiculously challenging. Bang for buck, this is your biggest game for the system, and you will most likely never ever finish it. Now, a lot of people say they screwed up the controls because the B button isn't the run button, it's the jump button, and then this is the button to throw stuff. If they just would have kept it Super Mario World style, maybe it would have felt better, but they didn't. Instead, the run button is assigned to the trigger. So as if this is the B button and run, and then this is the A button to jump. I understand what they were doing with it, but they didn't implement it very well. If they would have kept it more streamlined, I think it would have came off a lot better. So that's what that is. Galactic Pinball, which is in the Metroid universe. I have on one of, at least the full review that I did of this game, I did Galactic Pinball, and I was, I believe, the only person to show the Samus minigame that you could unlock if you get an absurd amount of points on a certain level, and you get to see the spaceship down, and it's really quite cool. So you have to put in lots of hours in Galactic Pinball in order to get to see the Samus minigame. Is it worth it? Well, it depends on how much of a Metroid fan you are. If you love Metroid, well then you're gonna have a blast with that. Okay, 3D Tetris, it's not really Tetris. It's instead this like cube shape, and you're trying to drop Tetris pieces into the cube to make a full grid. It's not the best. Okay, V Tetris is Tetris, and this is probably one of the games that would have used the link cable in order to link two of these bad boys back and forth, and quite frankly it would have been a lot better if they would have done that. Sadly, they didn't do that, so this takes a beating. It does. Okay. Now I still have this in a little package. Space Invaders, Japanese only release game, and it's sort of like the Space Invaders game on the Super Nintendo. There is a 3D mode, or you could play in 2D. Why would you want to play in 2D when you specifically bought this red and black beast to do 3D? It makes no sense, just like the game itself, selling for over $350. Why would anyone do that for Space Invaders? You can play the arcade versions through emulation and all of that, and I just don't understand why. This is the Japanese game Fishing. I don't think I spent more than 5 minutes on it. I just wanted to have every single game. I don't have every single game. There's 2 or 3 that I am missing. They're all Japanese ones. I do have a complete North American release library and some other interesting ones. It's just Fishing, not the best game. I already know what's inside of it. Space Squash. Now this is like Super Handball if you played it on the NES with the Power Glove, and it's quite good. You move your character around the screen as if it was the hand, and you knock stuff back and forth. Terrific game. It's a shame that the language is set to Japanese, where you don't really fully understand the story. You don't really need to, though. Overall, It's a great one and definitely worth buying. I think it was relatively expensive when I picked it up at $50. I'm betting it's pretty far from that now. Mario Tennis was the pack-in title. And also I want to show these here real quick. Is that they actually had dust sleeves that went on the games, sort of like the NES. Now the best part of this is actually the startup when you turn it on, which you turn it on by the controller, by the way, with this button right here. It launches the ball right at your face and it bounces off your face. And it's the most impressive 3D that the system even does. Nothing comes close to that, and that is it. That's Mario Tennis. If you're playing as the small people, you can field every single ball every single time, so it's not really a major problem. It's a pretty good game, but if you're playing two-player and not on the same team, playing against each other, whoever picked a smaller character would always be able to field the ball, and unless you screw up, you would not score the points, I guess. So basically, a game could last hours for a two-player. So the balancing really isn't there, and it doesn't have any super moves. This was the very first Mario Tennis game, though. Later, it would come out on the Nintendo 64, and then it added the super moves and better graphics and obviously much better gameplay, and everyone loved it for that system, but it started its life on the Virtual Boy. And finally, the last game, which is the game that's inside of it because it's the game I like to play the most, the best game, Wario Land, and it's just sort of like the Super Mario Land 3 and the Six Golden Coins, or no, Super Mario Land 3 Wario Land. It's like that version of Wario. You could pick up different treasures, and you want to pick up all of the special hidden treasures in order to make it all the way through the game itself and get the best possible ending. It has multiple endings, and another interesting thing about all of the levels, how they're laid out, it's very linear, where you could actually run all the way through the end of the game and then decide to turn around and go backwards all the way through to the beginning of the game by just running. And then every level is broken up by like a little, almost like warp zone, save zone, and you would just run past that and then run into the next level and then go all the way back to level 1. So you could essentially just run back and forth the entire game over as many times as you want until you find all the treasures to earn all of the cool stuff. Okay, so that is that. Oh, $35? Dang, Phil. Okay, so $35 was a great deal to pick up the Virtual Boy carrying case. So now we have the case itself, and you can see where a lot of these are compressed from years of being placed in here. You can see the dings and stuff like that. It's in fairly good condition because these things were rental units. They were meant to take a beating, and I'm sure they did. I'm not even 100% sure if the glue that's holding this bad boy in place is the original glue or not, because I think it would have came loose at some point. The foam stayed remarkably good over the years. Matter of fact, I don't think that this part of the foam, because it's not the same color as the lower set, I don't think that this was original. I think it may have came off at some point. But that is that. Now, I managed to get mine. My wife got it for me for Christmas some years back. It's one of the best presents she's ever given me. And it cost $500 when she bought it at Christmas time. Just a case, nothing else. So that was ridiculous. I don't know how we had the money to buy it, but luckily we did. And we got it. You still remember the smell? Yeah, I did all of the games. So these are all the games I have. Totoro Boxer, Nestor's Funky Bowling, Vertical Force, Jack Brothers, Ismouse, Japanese only game, Bound High, which you play as a ball, bouncing, trying to collect things. Very cool game. never really officially released. Waterworld, North American game. Panic Bomber, also here in North America. Red Alarm, Golf, Virtual League Baseball. I do have a Japanese version of this somewhere. I think it's still in the box. It came with a lot that I bought, so it is what it is. Mario Clash, Galactic Pinball. Remember, it has that Samus minigame in it, so definitely you want to give that a try. 3D Tetris, not really Tetris, but luckily in Japan we had V Tetris, which was really Tetris. Space Invaders, Japanese only game, by the way, Space Invaders. Part of why it sells for like $350. Fishing, not that interesting. Space Squash, great game, Japanese only. Wish we would have got it here in America. There probably is a translated game out there for it. I don't think there's that much translation though. I think there's very little. You just sort of understand. The consoleizer, oh, so there is a consoleized version of the Virtual Boy, and quite honestly, I strongly recommend it. And that's because they do make a product out there with all of these games on a flash card. So if you go to the, I think it's virtualboy.com or Planet Virtual Boy website, and I think you can order reproduction cards of these. None of these are reproduction, other than that is Mouse Game because it was an English patch. But I believe you could order the reproductions through there, and then also you could probably get someone there at Planet Virtual Boy to make you that ROM card that you could load up the Virtual Boy ROMs and play it in your consoleizer on your television and also record it better. Emulation's fine on the Virtual Boy. You miss out on all the 3D experience. Mario Tennis, which was the pack-in title, and Wario Land, obviously the very best game for the system. So that was a look at the Virtual Boy and the carrying case from Blockbuster. I'm going to work on some shorts here really soon, unless you guys have any questions for me. You don't have your carrying case anymore, Phil? That is ridiculous. Unacceptable. Don't sell your really awesome stuff that you have. I understand. Okay, so say you have an awesome Dreamcast collection. Like I had, which mine is less awesome now, but I did save some games that I really like. And then someone comes along and says, hey, I have a modded Dreamcast with an HDMI out on the back and has an SD card slot with every Virtual Boy game. So I got it. And then I'm thinking, well, why do I have like every Virtual Boy game? I think I got them all but like 6 or 7 of them. And I'm like, well, now I don't need these anymore. I mean, it's great to have them, fill in my game shelves, but I remodeled the basement and I'm like, I should sell off some of these. So I sold off some. It helped pay for Christmas this year. It helped pay for a lot of the remodel, and times we couldn't really do that much around the house because of things going on. So buying some of these systems with all of the built-in stuff in it, like I could easily sell all of these and buy one of those cards with all the ROMs on it and just play that. And I would be totally okay. I wouldn't have to really worry about it. Sort of the fact that I only get this out once a year is the whole reason that I just sort of keep a hold of all these games. I'm sure eventually I will end up selling it or something. I'm not really sure. Yeah. So in the comments, he's saying that we could just get rid of all of these, all the old games from our collections because modern consoles can play all of the old games, and that's very true. Other than a handful of games, which I'm going to keep a hold of until my dying grip finally lets go of them, I'm holding on to some of my favorite ones, and I'm letting go of the ones that aren't my favorite ones. And I'm kind of in that time of my life where the games just take up way too much space. And I'd rather have cool things like the different controllers for the systems and stuff like that, rather than have the games just taking up bookshelves upon bookshelves, to the point where it was eating up large portions of this room and another room and another room and then another room. It's way too much space. Like this room here is huge, and I probably could have just filled it if I would have stacked it in the middle, just like a whole bedroom amount of video games just stacked, and consoles and stuff like that just stacked in one giant pile. It's just insane. So again, Alien Chase by Tomy. I'm gonna do a short on that later. Look for that. It's gonna be a beautiful thing. The controller for the Virtual Boy was amazing, and Hyperkin, if they still have them out there, we got these. The last thing I want to talk about is my top 10 American Indians in video games came out. It didn't do as well as I thought it would, but that's okay, because I don't do this for the money. I do it for the love of the video games and to see you guys' reactions. It got a little bit of heat. If you go check out the comments, it's pretty hilarious. They're all over the place. How many games total? What for? Is that for how many games total for my Virtual Boy library, or how many games do I have total? At the peak, I had right around 4,000 hard physical games. It's too much. When my wife was packing up my games, because I had a complete GameCube collection, complete Xbox collection, almost complete complete Virtual Boy collection, almost complete Dreamcast. I think I was about 50% on the Game Boy Advance. There's a lot of games I just didn't want. You know, they made kid games, they made crap shovelware games. Wii games, probably right around 400 or 500 of those. Super Nintendo, more than half the library, which they get really pricey. I still didn't sell off any of those yet. I'm probably going to sell some of those in the future. Trying to think. Oh, Xbox 360 games. Oh my god. I didn't count them, but I think it's probably 600 games. It was closing in on having all of them. I know that. Just, you know, the Maddens don't really interest me that much. The sports games are always last on my list to pick up. Oh, complete Atari Jaguar collection, which maybe I'll break out the Atari Jaguar box. Like I said before, 10 games are loaned out to Gaming Off the Grid. Reach out to those guys. Tell them, hey, we wanna jump into the Atari Jaguar some more. That's all you have to do. Gaming Off the Grid. Those guys, when they do their live stream, say, hey, Second Opinion Games really wants you to do something with that Jaguar. I'll even send them more games. I just want them to live stream some of that. When Jamie, who might be watching right now, when he gets down and wants to talk and play some games and set up a live stream, we'll probably live stream the Jaguar, which is something that not many people do. Yeah, they need to play more Jaguar. And I told them I would send them any game they asked for. They just have to ask for it, and I will mail it right out to them. And then they could play it. When they're done, they could, send it back. I gave them 2 controllers so they could play 2-player even, and I think that they would have a great time with that. So that top 10 American Indians in video games, it was a bit of a firestorm in the comments. So if you haven't watched that yet, please watch that. I can't believe anyone even watches these live streams, but I want to show off some of the cool toys that I have here, and I just want to spend some time talking to you guys. I'm going to try to do these as often as I can. Maybe next week, next Wednesday, I'll try and hit up another one real quick, because Monday I'm quite busy. Otherwise, it would probably be Monday. I think those are my best days to do live streams, and I'll bring some cool stuff, and then later, once I get everything hooked up the way I want to, I will live stream some games to play, which then we could jump in to some pretty awesome stuff. These systems are great. Awesome. My top 10s, finally, frankly, yes. I try to be pretty comical with them. People take them too seriously. I'm a guy who, I had, no friends growing up, so now I treat everyone as if they were a great friend of mine, because if they take the time to talk to me, I feel honored. So I love just hanging out and talking to people. Yeah, SAWs do hate my last video, which is weird, because at work, I hang out with a crap ton of SJWs, because I accept everyone and just love hanging out and talking to people, and I ask for their opinions on things, and they give me their crazy stuff, and One day I even wanted to do sort of a live stream with some of the SJWs so we could like talk about these things in depth. But see, that's the problem. A lot of them don't want to talk about these things live on camera because then they're seen talking to someone who doesn't think exactly like they do. It's more of this is more of something for people that aren't really afraid of cameras, and unfortunately, some people just are scared. I don't understand it. Talking to a camera is not hard. Sure, there's people watching me on the other side, a whole 15 people. that's not a whole lot, but it's a good time. I like talking back and forth with you guys, even if I can't hear your voices. And that's one of the biggest things. I need to take a sip so bad. That's one of the biggest things that a friend of mine told me when I started the channel. That my videos were coming off robotic. I sound like a robot. And I was trying to read a script, and he said, just talk to the camera or the microphone like you're talking to a friend. So when I sit down to record the top 10s, I literally take a deep breath in, and I just picture my best friend sitting across from me, and then I just start talking. And then that's it. It's usually one take where I talk about it, unless I'm stuttering over my words really bad, and then I just get it all out. I no script or anything. I just talk to the camera as if I am talking to a friend, and that's all I really need to do in order to get my videos done. Yeah. So yeah, when you talk to them, you could catch the circular logic quite often, and it's not something I intend to do, but if it can be found, I tend to find it, not really intentionally. Some people do break down when you find out their circular logic, but a lot of people are quite strong. The internet has you believing that everyone is thin-skinned and weak. That's 1% of the population. People generally are not like that. People can take a beating, and they get right back up and they keep going. Okay. Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing. I try to make content that even if you don't like the system, you could enjoy the content with it. Like when I finally get to do my CDI, my Philips CDI, I highly doubt many people out there even give two craps about the Philips CDI, but they probably still wouldn't mind seeing my top 10 on the subject. Now, fair warning, with the Philips CDI, I do not have that extra horsepower of the digital thing that goes into the digital card slot that lets you play games like Dragon Slayer and stuff like that. So my top 10 is definitely going to be different than other people's top 10 because it basically cut a whole third of games out of the library of the Philips CDI. And if you had a Philips CDI back in the day, well, chances are you couldn't afford to have that $250 video card for a system that you knew was going to fail. And I have the cheaper version of the Philips CDI, but there are some decent games for that system that makes it worth having around. For example, the 3DO. I think the 3DO version of Road Rash is good enough to keep that system around just to play that game. And the version of Wolfenstein 3D, which some people told me that the Wolfenstein version of that's on the 3DO is the same, based on off the same game as the Atari Jaguar version of Wolfenstein 3D. And that can't even be remotely possible. They are so far different games, it's unbelievable. Yeah, it costs too much to play the CDI now. I don't recommend anyone tries it. I think you could emulate it. I can't imagine the emulation on the Philips CDI is any good though. I really don't think it would play as smooth. I don't think because it would be very technical to get the Philips CDI in the state which you could play it well. I just don't see it being a thing that could be done. So, other than that, I'm not sure what I'm going to dive into next. I have a couple of shorts planned throughout the week, and I'll launch those. Other than that, next week I'll probably start into another top 10. I'm not 100% sure which one. I have a couple ideas that I need to research thoroughly before I could start recording. And with that being said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this live stream and maybe enjoy the next one. And maybe I inspired you to track down some Virtual Boy stuff and maybe look into Tomy, T-O-M-Y, and maybe pick up some of these beautiful systems. So until later, I will see you again, guys. Goodbye, everyone. Have a great time. Yeah, Tomy made some great stuff. Okay, I'll see you later. Catch you on the flip side, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye.